is 4:50 p.m. afternoon time, Sunday, June 22nd, 2025. The show is Houstonic.live. My name is Mark Kulak, Kulacz. First day of the next 25 years of my marriage, starting to... Actually, yesterday would have been the first day of the next 25 years. And thank you for the well-wishers. I don't know if you're listening, if you're in the chat, Marie, if you're listening. Prayers to your friend Sherry, as I know that she's going through these tough times. I'm thinking about her, thinking about you as a good friend, being there for people. So Sherry is in our thoughts, and I hope you are doing okay. We'll catch up soon. Of course, this is George Rafferty. And I sort of named this little program today, Big Bad Bomb, Blonde Bully, Beautiful Bunker Buster, Blowing Bubbles. Of course, anyone with any sense of humor or has read all the best books, the literary works as a child, knows the Berenstein Bear Bee book. And I think that's what we are just going to review today on this episode 1299, I think is what we're at right now, 1299. I should say yesterday evening after coming home from a anniversary dinner, which was very nice. The appetizers were great. The dinner was so-so. It was a very chewy steak, I gotta say. You reach a point where sometimes you start to spoil yourself and you go, we're really good cooks. And it makes it difficult just to, when your expectations are so high, because you know how to cook food well. And I'm not saying we're the best cooks in the world, but sometimes it can be difficult. Anyways, so after coming back from our anniversary date last night, I come home, we get cleaned up, ready to just crash out on the couch for a little bit before going to sleep. And I find out that the United States just made an announcement that it dropped some bombs in Iran. Oh, fantastic. So can't even go out to dinner without, more action. And, of course, some of you may have already seen the news. You may have seen the press conference, which was delivered last night in the United States at 10 o'clock in the evening Eastern Standard Time, less than an hour after I got back. It wasn't a very long press conference, but it was just one of those, we dropped some bombs, and those big mother of all bombs, those Moabs, those bunker busters, and we hit 3 sites. And this is, of course, President Trump talking. And those are the sites where they were working on the bomb or something. And that's it. They're gone. And now we're going to talk about peace. First off, I just have to ask, how do you even know the sites were even blown up? Did you fly around afterwards and check it out? Did anyone on the ground give you an account of what had happened? I mean, maybe there was an unfortunate occurrence and the bombs didn't go off. It's so bizarre, but of course the cover story, and I encourage you to consider the possibility that the cover story isn't what's really going on. The cover story is Iran is full of big bearded meanies, and they were getting ready to build a bomb and blow up Israel and, terrorize a bunch of people. And, well, we, United States, stopped that from happening by blowing up the bomb-making sites. Now, I also heard that, I don't even know what that means. What is that even worth? But a couple of the reporting channels noted that equipment that is used in the act of enriching uranium, of creating and purifying and so on, the materials used to create this classification of a weapon, that much of that equipment was already removed from the sites and may actually have been unimpacted or unimpeded. So although, because of the certainty which was stated, I guess Iran is no longer going to have a bomb, no chance they can have a bomb in the next 3 years, they may return to their ability to enrich uranium soon. So it's an odd way that the world seems to be divided on this, at least within the United States. You're either okay with Iran enriching uranium so long as, and every once in a while, you get nervous that they're going to make a bomb, a nuclear bomb, and you have to blow up the factories. And then they can get back to making enriched uranium because you reset the clock somehow. And then the other side is you believe you can give Iran money so they won't make a bomb. And you're still okay with them enriching uranium. So it's almost as if everyone agrees that Iran can make a lot of enriched uranium. There's no argument about that. It's just that one side says you need to give Iran money, and the other side says you need to give them a bomb every once in a while. So it's like a Republican gets elected and they get a bomb, and you keep making uranium, and then the Democrat like, we'll give you money, and you keep making the uranium. Okay, this is nonsensical. It doesn't make any sense. And I'm not going to tell you. It's just another blabbermouth on the internet that I have some incredible insight about exactly what's happening. I don't. All I can tell you is if you allow yourself, if you enjoy, if you savor going a few hours, and I recommend going a few days or a couple of weeks even, just accept the worldview that there's no nuclear weapons. There's no bomb that can be made or ever has been made that's going to make cities or continents or all life on Earth end. It's just, it doesn't happen. It wouldn't make any sense if it did, this whole mutually assured, destruction. And then when you go, okay, so if that's not happening, what is happening? And what is happening clearly then is some sort of global battle over exactly who controls access to the enriched uranium. That's really what it is. The cover story is some people don't like the bombs and some people don't think there will be the bomb. Take out that silly cover story. Then what are you left with? Clearly, everybody wants enriched uranium. No question. No question about it. Everybody wants it. It's just a matter of who's going to get it and how it's going to be used. And suddenly that makes a whole lot more sense. And I have a few videos which I've collected today that I think I might be able to show in order to convince you of just how much sense that makes. Okay. And it does, by the way, tie in to the explosive videos, no pun intended, that I did yesterday. The explosive videos that we did yesterday included a video which I'm going to finish watching today. I've still only watched the first half of it now, but I really promised my wife that I would watch the whole thing with her. So I guess technically I didn't cheat on that because I've only listened to half of it while working in the yard. And some people send me some notes on the rest of the movie. But anyways, this movie Baby Got about a Dr. Quincy Fortier, or Fortier. I like to say Fortier. I think it's a more appropriate way of pronouncing it. Who died in 2006. He lived until age 92. He practiced medicine in the state of Nevada. And many people have heard stories before about other doctors who have used their own, male doctors have used their own semen when in fertility clinics, maybe for a few cases. There's a story of a doctor out in, I think it was San Francisco. It might have been a few hundred. But when it comes to Dr. Quincy Fortier, the number is, I suspect it's in the thousands. I suspect he has several thousand children. Several thousand. All they know is it's easily in the hundreds. Easily. And he was actually, there would be times, according to one scene I saw in the movie, where a woman went in for just a regular gynecological checkup. Okay? I don't understand when women need to be checked up for, women's stuff. It's not my business. But, you go for a checkup every once in a while. And one woman is absolutely convinced that like 50, 60 years ago, okay, she was actually, during the checkup, when he was inserting something to, I guess, get a sample, that he actually impregnated her when she went in for the checkup. So it isn't just a matter of him using his sperm when it came to someone struggling with fertility. There were women who got pregnant who didn't even, they were like, this particular woman, if I'm correct, she wasn't even sexually active. She was trying to get her law degree. You know, she was 19 or 20. She wasn't dating anyone. And then, it was just odd. And it's just like, well, I guess something really incredible happened. You know, suddenly she was pregnant. And then it wasn't until a long time afterwards. She's like, as the stuff came out, I think she was actually a senior citizen by then. She started to put the pieces together about what might have happened. This story involves this doctor with thousands of potential children. And here's the deal, okay? One of the most interesting and important institutes in the world regarding the pursuit of chronic fatigue syndrome and ME, myalgic encephalomyelitis, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, and maybe even the genetic causes of autism, is an institute called the Whittemore Peterson Institute, which is funded by one of his daughters. He was married. He had 5 kids the old-fashioned way. You know, you get married to someone and you have a few children. God bless, okay? So he had 5 children in his regular family, and one of those 5 children, a woman named Annette Whitmore, paid the money to start this foundation. And the reason why I bring this up in the context of this show here, talking about Iran and nukes, is that the Whitmore family, their political connections are very deep, go back many decades with Harry Reid. And Senator Harry Reid, now deceased of Nevada, was the main man who pushed the Iran nuclear deal through Congress. And as a matter of fact, one of the main people from the United States State Department working with John Kerry on the Iran nuclear deal was a man from Canada, Indian ancestry, named Richard Verma, who was a chief strategist for Harry Reid. In other words, the footprints of nuclear power, the fingerprints, I don't know, I guess you could have both, walking around on your hands and your feet, of the Iran nuclear deal, and big data computing, artificial intelligence, small form nuclear reactors, and everything else is only a small hop away from this story as well. And as a matter of fact, probably one of the main reasons why this story was so covered up, and there's big aspects of it which are still not shared, is precisely because it gets the highest level classification of state secrets available. Because the pursuit of AI and genetics and everything else is often also protected by the same Q-level clearances as nuclear energy. I suspect that they came up with an excuse to create an institute. And this is the institute that Judy Mikovitz joined and had her XMRV scandal at. Judy Mikovitz was working with one of the several thousand offspring of this man who created the institute pursuing the genetic causes of autism. Judy Mikovitz never shared that. Annette Whitmore, the actual daughter, but she has several thousand siblings, never shared that. They never made the connection. And the movie Baby God that you can get through iTunes or watch on HBO or whatever, they never disclosed that either. These are 2 separate stories. They're trying to pitch it, but it's the same story. And the reason why I have Harry Reid there, the main guy that pushed the Iran nuclear deal through Congress, is that matter of fact, 4 of Annette Whitmore's children work in the offices of Harry Reid. Harry Reid, the now deceased, once incredibly powerful senior Democrat in the United States Congress from Nevada, working with the husband of Annette Whitmore. His name is Harvey Whitmore. These stories are connected. And their connectedness should suggest that they're not connected because there's bombs that can be made that can end continents, causing all kinds of funky chain reactions. They're connected precisely because when you hear about nukes, what's really going on is nuclear power, artificial intelligence, and the pursuit of a greater understanding of the machinery of human life. That's really what it is. That is what the global battle is really over. The cover story is, oh my God, someone's going to make a nuke. And then, some group of people, they don't trust the bearded Muslims. And the other group are like, we can trust them. Here's some money. Just on its surface, if you just allow yourselves to consider the possibility that there are no nuclear weapons possible, it's like, holy cannoli, that is a stupid story. And you should be excited, eager to want to learn more about what the real story is. So you can continue to pursue and try to get a better understanding of what's going on here with this Iran nuclear deal and this war and what did they drop the bombs and oh my goodness, that's right. The centrifuges they threw them into a closet at a nearby Denny's. They're all fine and they're ready to be dragged back to a building somewhere and start enriching uranium again. And I'm not trying to say that this is some clever, 5D chess move by President Trump. I'm not sure exactly who's trying to, pull what string here, okay? But I know that simply by acknowledging that it cannot possibly be some stupid disagreement over a weapon of mass destruction, simply by accepting that, I guarantee you, this is among the most accurate insights about what is actually going on right now. Because you can't get an accurate understanding of what's going on right now if you work under the presumption that it's really all about a weapon of mass destruction, being a nuke. As soon as you accept that, every assumption you make after that's wrong. You have to let it go. And I'm willing to say it. I'm willing to look like the clown on the internet, saying something like that. My goodness, people get so upset. People don't want me to trust Jonathan Cooey. They want me to say bad things about him, and they want me to stop talking about nukes. Really, those two things. Oh, and 3, hate China. Okay, so if I don't trust Jonathan Cooey, and if I hate China, and if I believe in nukes, I would probably be able to get an extra few $1,000s a month easily, because that's where people took all their money away from. Those 3 things in particular. That suggests that those 3 things are the hot points. So let me go over here a couple of the videos that I had. So I showed this one yesterday. MIT Technology Review. This is a May 20th, 2025 article, albeit. Data center boom in the desert. The artificial intelligence race is transforming northwestern Nevada, which I was just there. I went on a short family trip. I went out there with my wife for a few days. We never saw Lake Tahoe. It's I guess maybe you could think that I'm part of it or something, but it was a crazy coincidence. Reno is not exactly a thriving city, put it that way. And but I did notice that there was a lot of development around Reno, especially in the north area and the area between Reno and Tahoe. There were a lot of big houses being built, expensive houses. The Lake Tahoe area is incredibly expensive to live on. And I didn't make note of that. Like, well, maybe this is just an area that people go to save money on taxes. I did notice a lot of big buildings being made also. I didn't consider the possibility that they were making data centers. I just thought that they were, one of those shipping exchanges like they would build for Amazon, or something like that. It didn't occur to me that they were making data centers. But anyways, they are making data centers. It's one of the biggest areas of new data centers in the world. In fact, it might actually someday be the largest area of data centers in the world. The area of Reno, Nevada. Nobody told me this. I didn't hear this from anywhere else. You know how I got here? You know how I got here. I got here by considering the possibility that maybe Judy Mikovitz at this Whitmore Peterson Institute looking for chronic fatigue syndrome was important. Why did they make this institute in Reno? And what are the odds? What are the odds that the co-founder, Annette Whitmore, has several thousand half-siblings? What are the odds of that happening? It's usually pretty low. And not to mention, Annette Whitmore and her husband are like this with Harry Reid, who is one of the main drivers of getting the Iran nuclear deal through Congress in 2015. Harry Reid was also possibly the most influential person in the United States government in getting India to sign its nuclear deal, that whole 1-2-3 agreement back in the early 2000s, said by Richard Verma. Richard Verma, the guy who interviewed Piper Stover, who was giving Jonathan Cooey money early in the COVID-19 pandemic. These are ridiculous things, but it's true. So you follow the clues, you follow the breadcrumbs, you start doing your compound searches, and you're like, now that we know that, genetics, autism, you're going to need a lot of AI, nuclear. I wonder if there's any data centers going into Nevada. I do the compound search, and boom, this gets spit out. In many cases, my compound searches are so effective, they're actually based upon, hundreds of thousands of hours of research that go into them. In many cases, I can actually predict what the results are going to be, because there's no reason why I would have typed in that compound search if I didn't already have a preponderance of data that suggested that exactly was going to be the case. I type it in, sure enough, it's true. All right, so this is Forbes, okay, 1 year ago. We only need to watch the first 1 minute of this. It's enough to get the point across, okay? I can make a statement after playing 1 minute. So this is Forbes. It came out 1 year ago. The presenter is Manolis Kellis, who is an accomplished computer science professor at MIT and member of the Broad Institute Human Genome Project, and is a trailblazer in computational biology, all right? So let's see what he has to say in the first minute here.
How do we use artificial intelligence to truly transform human health, to make aging optional, to make disease a thing of the past? How do we do that? The way to do that is to start with causality. And causality is very hard in human epidemiology. The vast majority of data is about correlations. But the one place where causality is there is genetics. So we start with genetic information, which basically tells us across the 6 million common variants.
And right up on top, it says pause the causality, disease mechanism, new target genes, new therapeutics, personalized medicine. Ta-da-da-da-da. There you go. Personalized medicine. That's an interesting phrase. Matter of fact, let's go to M. Let's go to M. Let's look at Judy Mikovitz's page that I have on her, because I have things that you won't find on Wikipedia. And Judy Mikovitz, when she left the National Cancer Institute in the year 2001, only 6 months before 9/11, by the way, she went to California and joined a company for a few years called Epigenics, 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 where she became a chief science officer. Epigenics, by the way, is a big promoter at that time of the success of the Human Genome Project. And that now that we have this human genome map, we can make customized medicines. What I wanted to highlight in here is the saved webpage for Epigenics, which you can find on archive.org. And right in the front, the future of personalized medicine starts here. So this guy at MIT here, in his well-spoken demeanor, he's talking about curing disease with genetics and AI, and the promise of genetics is going to be delivered through personalized medicine. That's exactly where Judy Mikovitz was working. The future of personalized medicine was a company called Epigenics that she joined in 2001. And then, after being there for a few years, she went and joined the Whitmore Peterson Institute, where the main person who gave them money, Annette Whitmore, just happens to have several thousand half-siblings. And her husband, along with her, have 4 sons who I guess also have, several thousand aunts and uncles, I guess, in a weird way, also have been working with Harry Reid. What are the odds that Harry Reid doesn't know that one of his top donors and one of the people who he has 4 of their kids working in his office just happen to have several thousand aunts and uncles? I think Harry Reid would know that. You know, Harry Reid, who pushed that stinking Iran nuclear deal through Congress. Isn't it just yesterday we dropped bombs in Iran because we were afraid that they were going to make a weapon of mass destruction and blow up Israel or blow up something? The bearded terrorists are going to be bringing their bombs around the world and blow it up. Or maybe it's not really about that at all. Maybe it's about something else. So as this guy is going to go on to say,
that all of us have inherited from our mom and our dad, which ones are associated with disease? That allows us to know that there's something causal going on there, but that doesn't tell us how it works. The beauty and the power of genetics is that it doesn't matter what genes are made of. It doesn't matter if they're made of green cheese. Genetics will still work. But the challenge is that after you have the genetic hit, you have no idea how it works. You have no idea what cell type, what gene might be the target, what tissue of action. The mechanism is simply unknown. And how do you develop therapeutics without mechanism? So the way that we do that is by systematically starting from genetics and then profiling the molecular impact of those genetic differences at the cellular level. To basically understand, for example, for patients that show Alzheimer's, how is ApoE4 impacting the brain? And not just the brain as a whole, but every single cell type of the brain. So what we need to do is understand the molecular impact of every one of those genetic variants at single cell resolution in every tissue and every cell type of the body. That's where AI begins. AI begins with data. So we have the genetics, we have the molecular phenotypes, we can now start integrating the data sets together.
Okay, so let's see what he's saying here. Let's analyze it. Artificial intelligence
and having access
to vast quantities of compute power is going to yield us potentially the only known potential route to immortality. The only known route. Now, I don't know. I think immortality is worth a few dollars. It's probably worth more than gold, oil, pipelines, land. Immortality is worth everything. And a large class of people believe artificial intelligence happens by powering computers, and computers consume right now probably more power than just about any other industry in the world. And they're going to grow exponentially, or by a large quantity at the very least. They're going to consume more and more and more and more. Matter of fact, they're probably even going to come up with climate change scams to justify powering data centers and not people. You really think they want to make sure that all the citizens are comfortable in air conditioning? Or they want to get every gigawatt possible into the servers to crunch more numbers and potentially come up with more, as he would say, causalities? Maybe. So how do we get this? How are we going to power all these data centers? Because we don't have enough power right now. We don't have enough power to drive all these data centers. As we said, some of the largest data centers in the world are going to be built up in Reno, Nevada. How are you going to power them? Oh, that's right. SMRs. The SMR Gamble. We'll read this a little bit here. Data center power demand is accelerating, pushing the grid to its limits and prompting tech giants to bet on next-generation nuclear reactors. But given steep costs, regulatory hurdles, and uncertain scalability, is nuclear the future of data center energy or just another high-stakes gamble? And this is also a recent article, March 3rd, 2025. What are people talking about? Data centers in Nevada, Reno specifically, not too far from the Whittemore-Peterson Institute. Powering them with nuclear power. The future of nuclear are these smaller reactors because of their flexibility, their scalability, and so on and so forth to power these data centers. And also, they're green. No emissions. No emissions required for nuclear energy. Of course, you may need to burn fuel at the source when you actually enrich the uranium, but they have a clever way to be able to disguise that. At the end of January, and this would have been 2025, Chinese artificial intelligence AI startup DeepSeek unveiled two large language models, LLMs, DeepSeek R1 and DeepSeek R10. Unlike previous generations of AI models, DeepSeek's breakthrough reduced the compute cost of AI interference by a factor of 10. Allowing it to achieve OpenAI GPT 4.5 level performance while consuming only a fraction of the power. I'm not even going to pretend that I could actually articulate to you exactly what technology that is or isn't, okay? I worked in the tech industry for a while. I'll tell you this much, okay? I worked in the tech industry for a while, and I saw marketing everywhere. Everything that was described as innovative was really just marketing. It was just more horsepower. It was more compute, more cores, more brute force. I just saw all of these magical words thrown at things as innovative and super and future and this and that, and it was just more. At the end of the day, it was just more, which was fine, but one of the reasons why I was probably not exactly what they wanted as a product marketing guy is because I didn't like bullshitting people. Like, just say what it is, Oh, you get more. Who doesn't want more? That's good enough. No, everything's secret and super intelligent and clever and efficient and I don't know, whatever. Anyways, I don't spend a lot of time getting into, respinning all the marketing to you, okay? But anyways, all you know is it's newer algorithms and, that does more with more cores. But they say it reduced the power input. Okay. So the news appended future electricity demand assumptions, rattling both the energy and tech sectors. And remember, this was a thing earlier in this new Trump presidency. This came out. And everyone's arguing about the algorithms. What about the power consumption? Because that's what it is. How much electricity, how many gigawatts are you going to need? The news appended future electricity demand assumptions, rattling both the energy and tech sectors. Investment markets reacted swiftly, driving down expectations and share prices for power generation. Small modular reactor, that's the SMR. Thank you. It was pretty clear I forgot exactly what it stood for just a minute ago. SMR, small modular reactor, SMR developers, uranium suppliers, gas companies, and major tech firms. Yet amid the chaos, optimism abounded. Analysts pointed to Jevons paradox. Sounds like a good group, actually. The economic principle that efficiency gains can increase consumption rather than reduce it. Morgan Stanley's research said, quote, our model shows a 90% drop in the unit cost of compute over a 6-year period, and our recent survey of corporate AI adoption suggests increases in the magnitude of AI use cases. So as the cost goes down, people come up with new uses for it and use more of it and make more of it. The U.S. remains the dominant market for AI-driven data center expansion, with 40 gigawatts of new projects under development, many of them in western Nevada. Reno, not too far from the Whitmore Peterson Institute. I'm not saying that institute itself is going to be using all this, but it is noteworthy that Judy Mikovitz went there. Why? Because Annette Whitmore's daughter had chronic fatigue? Oh, so sad. You think Annette Whitmore brought in Judy Mikovitz to work on the genetic causes of autism and somehow forgot to tell Judy Mikovitz, Dr. Mikovitz, I don't know if this is connected or not, but you might find it valuable. I don't know. You might find it valuable that I just happen to have several thousand half-siblings. I'm not saying that just because you're using computers and you're looking for the genetic causes of something and you're looking at my daughter's chronic fatigue, I'm not saying that has anything to do with what you're looking at, but, just in the odd chance that you actually want to look at the family tree somehow, you may find it interesting that HBO came out with a movie called The Baby God at the same time that your movie Plandemic came out. That's pretty fascinating. Don't you think so, Dr. Mikovitz? Oh, by the way, our family is wrapped up like this with Harry Reid, who pushed the Iran nuclear deal through. Might have something to do with the fact that Harry Reid and other people politically connected in Nevada are involved in things related to how much enriched uranium is going to be available for the small modular reactors powering the future of artificial intelligence. And as they say, the big thing is not blowing up continents with bombs. The big thing is who's going to have the upper hand on artificial intelligence. Who's going to be able to power more data centers? Who's going to be able to come up with more causations, as that other guy just said. No more correlations. We need causations. We need facts. This is what the war is about. And every once in a while, someone's going to drop a few bombs in the middle of the desert and say they blew up the factory. But trust me, the uranium enrichment's going to continue. Now, I don't know who's going to get it. I don't know who wins and who loses here. But it's not really about blowing Tehran and a bunch of Iranians up. I don't know what's exactly happening. But I promise you The answer is not a fear of a bomb that's going to blow up a continent or a city or the world. That is not the answer. It's not even part of the answer. The answer is who's going to control the energy. Because without this energy, you don't have AI. You're going to get blown out. If you only have a fraction of the AI or the compute capability of another country, you lose. You lose in the most heavily funded, longest-running scientific endeavor in all of human history. Don't think these things are connected? Well, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. A lot of technology related to modern computing, the pursuit of cancers, even genetics, all came out of the Manhattan Project. The Manhattan Project, which created nuclear power atomic bombs, really has spent more money on those things than it ever had on bombs. Most of the work is around enrichment anyways. It's amazing how like 90-something% of the work is basically creating the materials and the technologies necessary to power data centers, to do math, and to advance the understanding of the human genome. There's just this little fraction left over that comes into bombs. And the only way you know bombs ever existed is because a couple of Jesuits told you it was definitely a bomb in Hiroshima, and a couple of cartoon drawings in chalk, in crayons, that every once in a while an MIT professor will put on a board and then say, you guys are just too stupid to understand the rest of it. I mean, look at this one. A recent power analysis shows United States data centers electricity consumption could reach 214 terawatt hours and 675 terawatt hours annually by 2030. All right, so let's continue on here. That has dramatically raised the stakes, igniting a desperate frenzy across both power industry, which must generate and deliver reliable electricity for a variety of emerging large load customers, and the data center industry, which is scrambling to procure firm, scalable energy to sustain its explosive growth, now and well into the future. The stakes are fueled by real fear. In November, this would be 2024, research from Gartner, I've been to a Gartner conference before, projected that power required for AI data centers could reach 500 terawatt hours per year by 2027, a 2.6 increase, basically 3x increase from the 2023 levels. It warned that power shortages could restrict 40% of AI data centers by 2027 and drive up energy costs. The upfront cost of power is no longer the deciding factor for data centers. Speakers at the Sustainable Data Center Summit in Dallas, Texas recently said, oh, that's right. Didn't Trump just sign a bill for like $500 billion or $2 trillion for data centers? Did he tell you how much of that bill is going to be spent on small modular reactors, which are going to be using enriched uranium, possibly from Iran? He probably didn't mention that part. But trust me, that's a big part of the story. That's a big part of the story. It is funny in a morbid way, but it's also, it really is a national security objective. I've failed to maybe impress upon my audience that this really is very serious stuff. It really is. It's just not about what they say it's about. It really is extremely serious. I'm actually starting to wonder from time to time if I should stop talking about it. Am I really helping the United States of America at this point by talking about this? Eventually, what I'm saying here is going to go viral, and it's going to have national security consequences. I know it. Maybe I should just be like the rest of the citizen journalists and say, whoa, I'm afraid of bombs. Bombs really bad. You know, and be like the rest of them and take money to lie about why people die. But, you know, until I can get at least one person out there, first of all, to offset the losses I had in the family, but also to publicly acknowledge the role of the drug epidemic in the United States of America, I don't see there's anything worth losing at this point. Convince me that some decisions are going to be made, such as talking about hospital protocols, specifically with respect to oxygen, which is one of the reasons why Scott Schara lost his case, by the way. and the role of the drug epidemic and life expectancy drops and so on and so forth. Until someone shows some goodwill towards American people, I don't see a country that's actually worth saving, and maybe even compromising a little bit and not talking about the reality of what is actually going on with respect to these bombs being dropped at these locations in Iran. So this is actually a little breakout here. I'm begging somebody, please do some goodwill. Show that the country is worth saving. That some people are going to say the things which are necessary and acknowledge the people that really did have the losses, and help the hundreds of thousands of grandparents right now that are raising their kids or their grandkids because of all of the losses and all of these other challenges. Show me the country's worth saving. And then maybe I'll bend a little bit, because I'm not sure this really is the best thing to do. That's how certain I am of it at this point. God strike me down. I am dead certain about it. It's the hill to die on. I'm so certain about it. So it talks about Amazon's massive investments in this, and they say, look, if you look at the needs of 2045 and trying to meet the Paris Agreement, solar and wind won't be enough. You have to look at the next step. Solar and wind are a joke. Okay, it's nice boost. I support both of them. Great. They are not going to give anywhere close to the amount of energy that these data centers need. The only thing that's going to do it is oil. And you might be surprised that I said oil there, because enriched uranium isn't dug out of the ground. Enriched uranium is made with oil. Oil and natural gas and hydro if it's available. These are the things that are
poured into the fuel tanks, which are used to drive the centrifuges,
which are used to take the raw materials and make the enriched uranium, which then is sent to wherever it needs to be sent and then used to actually extract the energy from. You're not going to get it with just solar panels. So there are multiple magnificent videos out there on this. Oh, yeah, I think I want to watch for a few minutes the Massie video. But before that, here's a long Forbes video. Amazon is betting big on its data centers powered by nuclear reactors.
Here's your Forbes daily briefing for Friday, October 18th. Today on Forbes, Amazon is betting big on small nuclear reactors to power its data centers. Amazon is betting big on nuclear power to help drive a massive data center expansion that includes more than $52 billion across just 3 U.S. states. Amazon and Dominion Energy, the $48 billion market cap energy behemoth, announced Wednesday that they've entered into an agreement to explore the development of small modular reactors, a type of advanced nuclear reactor less than 10% the size of a traditional nuclear plant in Virginia.
Just to note, there are other states than Nevada. Okay, Texas, Washington State, they have a lot of hydro access there. It's not going to be all Nevada. But I have seen in a few places that over the next 10 years, Nevada is just poised for whatever reason for this massive growth, possibly eventually becoming the hub. It doesn't make sense because Nevada can be kind of hot in the days. It can also be very cool at night. And I think the rapid cooling that happens at night is very beneficial because sometimes 40% of the electricity used in a data center is cooling. After doing the computational work, that creates a lot of heat, and then the heat needs to be evacuated. Otherwise, the electrical components will stop working. So cooling is an enormous percentage. Some say you can estimate nearly 50%. I think 45% is more accurate of all the power used by artificial intelligence and data centers. So you could actually, like during the peak hours, like when the sun is out, if you could slightly lower the power draw, you could of your computing, maybe turn a few cores off. You could reduce the amount of heat that's generated in the daytime, and then you could probably maximize it at night when the temperatures get nice and low. And then therefore you spend less energy on actually taking outside air and bringing it inside, and taking the hot inside air and moving it outside.
Amazon simultaneously announced an agreement to fund the development and deployment of small modular reactors in Washington state with the public power agency Energy Northwest. Amazon signed a separate agreement with X Energy, a developer of small modular reactors, also known as SMRs, that is building one as part of the partnership with Energy Northwest. The startup is currently building its first advanced reactor with chemical giant Dow in Seadrift, Texas. As part of its agreement with X Energy, Amazon is anchoring a $500 million investment in the startup, which was founded by billionaire serial entrepreneur Cam Ghaffarian in 2009, through its Climate Pledge Fund. Through this deal, Amazon and X Energy plan to bring more than 5 gigawatts of new power projects online across the United States by 2039, enough to power more than one mid-sized city, in an effort to meet the ballooning power needs of artificial intelligence. Amazon, as well as other major data center providers like Microsoft and Google, are looking to these small modular reactors to serve their rapidly growing power needs. SMRs can be built in less time and at lower cost than traditional nuclear power plants. Plus, they're carbon-free, key to the tech giant's broad commitments to reduce emissions. And unlike solar or wind power, they're reliable and can operate 24 hours a day, a key advantage for data centers and factories. The U.S. Department of Energy has said that U.S. nuclear capacity has the potential to triple from 100 gigawatts in 2024 to 300 gigawatts by 2050 to meet the demands of both decarbonization and nonstop power. Matt Garman, CEO of Amazon's cloud computing company Amazon Web Services, or AWS, told Forbes, quote, "Nuclear is a great option for how we scale the world's energy needs. We need more energy brought to the grid." He added that SMRs are the, quote, "most promising new technology to do that."
Now, because it's nuclear power, now you have Q-level clearances. So you have to take, again, no pun intended, a grain of salt with a lot of these numbers. I suspect that we don't actually get the real numbers of enriched uranium output that comes from a nation like Iran. And I don't think it's just Iran hiding it. I think the whole International Atomic Energy Agency is in on it. The IAEA is plenty wrapped up with work related to genetics. Of course they are. Of course they are. Where's the video I have at? There's a Jane Goodall video at one of the keynote speakers at the recent International Atomic Energy Agency conferences. It's like, they have videos about using nuclear sciences to reduce the risk of zoonotic outbreaks. It's remarkable how all this stuff is tied together. It's not about a bomb that can blow up a city or a country or a continent. That's what it's not about. No one can have any useful, insightful discussion about this stuff while thinking about that stupid storyline. And it's remarkable, at some point, I have to believe that a lot of people are starting to know this, okay? There's so many people that are going to these conferences that are talking about this stuff. It's actually kind of impressive that either so many people are still snowed. I think eventually this secret's going to get out, okay? It's not about bombs anymore. In some ways, one of the things I think that you see some leaders doing right now is they start to talk about it in ridiculous ways. Almost, I think, with the expectation that sometime soon we are no longer going to be looking at nukes as a real thing. 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, I don't know when it's going to be. It's going to happen. I don't think that you can keep this secret wrapped up that much longer. But for the time being, this is how the diplomacy is done. This is how the international battle is taking place. You still do it masquerading that a couple of guys in the desert are going to make the bomb, and then everything's going to end if the wrong people get their grimy little hands on this thing. It's not what it's really about. There's a great longer video available. This is the one I wanted to find, okay? This is on FT, Financial Times. Are we on the brink of a nuclear revival? So this is telling us that nuclear is about to be revived. We're going to get reactors, especially the small modular reactors, everywhere now. because of the incredible demand for artificial intelligence. So if the most important thing in the world is the Human Genome Project and the progression of and the capabilities of data centers to come up with causations as opposed to just correlations, if that's the most important thing, then it stands to reason that the things that it requires, such as power, are also going to be the most important thing. Therefore, the most important thing, in line with the Human Genome Project and this pursuit of advancing understanding of genetics worldwide, is at the same level now with access to enriched uranium. Boy, isn't it kind of wacky? Crazy thing that so much of the Human Genome Project has been protected by the United States Department of Energy, and then beforehand the Atomic Energy Commission, going back to Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Boy, isn't it crazy that the first true cancer research center in the United States of America, Memorial Sloan Kettering, was created actually on the day between Hiroshima and Nagasaki, precisely so that they could enroll that cancer center into the what became the Atomic Energy Commission and share state-level secrets with it. That is why an AEC director named Cornelius P. Rhodes was put in charge of the cancer center at Memorial Sloan Kettering in 1945. It's not because of big bombs blowing up continents. So scary. Uh-oh. And you will be so free and happy. All this shit will make sense if you let go of the nuclear weapon story. Therefore, my program has to be among the most dangerous programs on the entire internet right now. Just because of that. And by the way, you can make big bombs. You could probably throw a little enriched uranium in there if you want to. But I'll tell you what, you could probably kill more people with a massive effort to airdrop fentanyl in some sort of gaseous form on a city than you can with any known nuclear weapon. And right now, I don't see anyone even spending 5 minutes on mainstream media talking about nearly 500,000 drug overdose deaths in the last 5 years, main cause of life expectancy drop, and then allowing that data to be used to suggest we had a deadly novel virus, which provided one of the main legs used to justify mRNA vaccines. Technology, which came somewhat, you could say, out of years of cancer research and the United States Department of Energy and Human Genome Project. Isn't that just a crazy thing? 2 minutes. I'm going to say hi to you guys real quick. It may take me a while. It may take a couple of hours, but as I get the video reposted on my other platforms, I'll make a cover, and I'll put these links onto the notes section in YouTube. Again, they're not hard to find. It's out there. And even if you think I'm totally full of it, that's fine. My former self 10 years ago would have been horrified seeing what the stuff that I'm saying today. It takes a while. But please, let your mind run wild. Just entertain. Live the life for a while, okay? Live vicariously through me, I don't know, of thinking that this nuclear bomb story is not the truth. And suddenly everything just starts to make sense. Oh, yeah, I wanted to show the Thomas Massie video as well. I think this is really important. I wouldn't have known this if it wasn't sent to me by Jonathan Cooey this morning. Oh, yeah, and I showed this video yesterday as well. This was not a video, but this was upon the death of Harry Reid, the Hindustan Times, talking about how he was the United States Senator powerhouse who rescued the Indian nuclear deal. Again, it's all about the nukes, but it's really all about the access and control over the enriched uranium. I think it was known 20 plus years ago or longer that nuclear power was going to be one of the main drivers of data centers, which were going to be used for this project. It goes back quite a ways. Anyways, Harry Reid, remember Harry Reid, all kinds of his law offices, at least include 4 people who are the children of Annette Whitmore, and there's Annette Whitmore with Judy Mikovitz. Judy Mikovitz went to Nevada to work at the Whittemore Peterson Institute for a reason. for a reason. And it might have had something to do with the fact that, as this movie Baby God, which I recommend watching, discloses, this man's daughter is Annette Whitmore, meaning Judy Mikovitz, while she's looking for the genetic causes of autism, by the way, the same thing that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. said he's going to solve this fall. You don't think that when she joined the Institute, she knew that Annette Whitmore just happened to have several thousand siblings? Of course she did. Of course she did. Where was it? Face the Nation this morning. This is today.
Welcome back to Face the Nation. Democrat Ro Khanna joins us from San Francisco, and here in studio is Kentucky Republican Thomas Massie.
Wow. So right off the bat, isn't that amazing? This man from Kentucky, Thomas Massie, who I don't know what to make out of him. He obviously says a bunch of things that, you have to, with common sense, you'd agree with. But I've always been apprehensive about him. I met him once at that Kentucky Truth Summit. But here he is teaming up with Ro Khanna. So Ro Khanna is, here we go. His family moved here just in the nick of time for him to be born in the United States of America. And now he's yet again another Indian man or woman in the United States Congress. The United States is only 1.4% people of Indian ancestry. Yet somehow I think we are like 2.5% of our Congress right now is Indian, which is great, I guess. But given the fact that several of them weren't even born in the United States, it's starting to be one of those Israeli things. It's like, okay, whatever, some people with Israel, but why all the dual citizens? And now Ro Khanna isn't necessarily a dual citizen. He did go to college, by the way, as an intellectual property lawyer. And by the way, his grandfather was also a major political operative in India along with Gandhi. Noteworthy that Ro Khanna, sort of like many of the other people that we've been talking about here, it's kind of odd that Robert Malone, who I think is definitely half Indian, he's been working with the youngest daughter of another Indian prime minister, last name Rao, the guy that brought India into the IMF. Oh, that's right. One of the chief strategists of Harry Reid, Harry Reid here, who's working with the Whitmore family, was Richard Verma, the guy who went on to become the United States ambassador to India. Oh, that's right. The Iran nuclear deal, which was put together by Clinton and Kerry. Kerry is like this with Richard Verma, the Indian guy who was the chief strategist for Harry Reid. Harry Reid, who's wrapped up in hiring all the Annette Whitmore kids. The family that has several thousand siblings. It's almost as if all of this nuclear stuff is somehow connected to the pursuit of a better understanding of the human genome. So, of course, as we've been speculating, it's odd that a lot of people from this Indian ancestry are very uncomfortable. They would rather give Iran money to not make a nuke and let Iran enrich uranium. But the Trump side, or the Republicans or the neocons, whatever, they want to give Iran bombs and let Iran enrich uranium. So, of course, Thomas Massie right now, who's going to be on board with this, and I've been starting to suspect as much, is now going to be a big ally of Ro Khanna.
And good morning to both of you, gentlemen. I'll start with you, Congressman Massie. I know this is an unlikely pairing. You are on completely different ends of the political spectrum, but you both worked on this war powers resolution to prohibit U.S. forces from engaging in hostilities against Iran without authorization from Congress. The president just blew right past that.
Well,
For the record, the United States shouldn't be dropping bombs anywhere. Even if there is, they're not saying it is what it really is. On the face, it is, let's be honest, horrifying that the United States is dropping bombs like this, okay? Please do not think that I think otherwise.
I think I represent part of the coalition that elected President Trump. We were tired of endless wars in the Middle East and tired of wars in Eastern Europe. And we were promised that we would put our veterans, our immigration policies, and our infrastructure first. And so what Ro and I did We did this last week when, they were rattling the sabers because we saw this coming. We put forward this war powers resolution. I've teamed up with Ro Khanna before on this, to his credit. When Joe Biden was president, we tried to rein in the executive and reassert Congress's authority, sole authority, to declare war and to engage or authorize the engagement of acts of war.
Something we talked to other lawmakers about as well in the Senate. I know there's efforts to support you, but the Speaker of the House, who is from your own party, has really rejected this. He says the Article 1 power of Congress really allows for the president to do this. It was a limited, necessary, targeted strike, he says.
Well, he's probably referring to the War Powers Act of 1973, but that's been misinterpreted. There was no imminent threat to the United States, which was what would authorize that. And I think that's peculiar to hear that from the Speaker of the House. Look, Congress was on vacation last week when all this was happening.
You haven't been briefed on any of the
We
details.
haven't been briefed. They should have called us all back. And frankly, we should have debated this war powers resolution that Ro Khanna and I offered, instead of staying on vacation and doing fundraisers and saying, oh, well, the president's got this under control. We're going to cede our constitutional authority.
It's fair enough. It's fair enough. But what is he suggesting? He's suggesting that we need to have a civil discussion about whether or not to take action in the United States in Iran based upon whether Iran is going to make a bomb that's going to blow everything up or not. Yes, the United States should have civil discussion amongst its citizens and its political leaders before engaging in any war. Absolutely. But they are talking about this fantasy. Now, maybe there is a national security priority in ensuring there are certain interests or companies or nations or whatever involved in certain parts of uranium enrichment and access to these materials for the purposes of driving AI over the next 5, 10, 20 years. Okay, but that's not the discussion that they're having. That's not the discussion that they're making you think that they should be having. So what's the point? It starts with, an open discussion about what the hell is actually going on. And it's not about the bombs. So therefore, what he's suggesting is nonsense. The first thing he should say, okay, if he really wants to move on, is say, look, this nuke thing is just nonsense. All right, let's talk about what's really going on. And it's not a joke. The fight over AI is a big deal. It involves a lot of things. But he's not going to say that. So it's stupid. It's sort of like the whole argument of, does the government have a right to mandatory vaccinate people? Well, does it? I don't know. If there really is, hypothetically speaking, a fantasy scenario where there exists some creepy, crawly pathogen that's going to kill almost everybody unless everybody gets the shot, and that's a scenario, that's not the truth. That's not reality. But if that fantasy was true, then you might actually find that a lot of people go, yeah, well, I guess in that case, you can do it. So we're having arguments about scenarios which aren't possible. We're arguing about scenarios with mythology being what's front and center. We can't have useful conversation or dialogue if we're working with mythology. We can't.
Ro Khanna, Congressman Khanna, and we didn't hear from the secretary the explanation as to why now. We haven't heard that from anyone, other than a reference to the president had a roughly 60-day timeline on diplomatic talks. But we also know he had more talks scheduled when Israel launched this attack. So it's not exactly clear the emergency. You will be briefed along with other members of Congress Tuesday. What are the questions you have?
Well, first of all, the tragedy in this country is that we keep entering these overseas wars. We triumphantly declare the mission is accomplished the day after, and then we're left with Americans bearing the consequences for decades. Now, Thomas is absolutely right in showing courage. I mean, the headlines all across this country says the United States enters war with Iran. He is actually representing a lot of the people in the MAGA base, people like Steve Bannon, Tucker Carlson, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Theo Vaughn, who has had them on, who's saying, we don't want this war. And I heard your interview with Secretary Rubio. He's saying, well, we want a peace deal. We want to make sure that Iran can enrich uranium through civil purposes. Well, we had that. We had that at the JCPOA, and there was not.
Yeah, the Iran nuclear deal. Yeah, that's great. So we already had that. He wants to go back to the Iran nuclear deal, you know, the one that was pushed through by Harry Reid. That's fine, okay? But, you know, they're arguing about who's going to get the uranium and who's paying for it. That's what the fight is about. And on the surface level, there's another story altogether. So this is Good Morning Today. What are we talking about? United States bombing Iran. What is their, Khanna's suggestion why the United States shouldn't have done it? Oh, we should have done it because we already had, that Iran nuclear deal that was pushed through by Harry Reid and so on and so forth, and John Kerry with the assistance of Richard Verma, former United States ambassador to India, et cetera, et cetera. But that's right. Harry Reid was also, a long time Senator of Nevada, wrapped up with the Whitmore family, even earmarked money to go towards Whitmore Peterson Institute, where Judy Mikovitz was at. Now consider another scenario. Shift gears a little bit, but refocus on this institute, this Whitmore Peterson Institute. Do you really think that the FBI sent like 50 or 100 agents to Nevada and then out to California to arrest Judy Mikovitz and take away her laptop and then ultimately pursue other federal charges about election donations with Harvey Whitmore because they were really upset that Judy Mikovitz didn't count her data set properly? Or is whatever the hell going on amongst these research institutes related to genetics that big of a national security concern? There's a reason why the two people who wrote the paper that Judy Mikovitz's work didn't add up both died suspiciously. One was, I believe, almost definitely assassinated. There's a reason why the stakes are so high here. Because they're not doing all this stuff because of nukes. They're doing it because the national security concern is real. And it's real enough and serious enough that people get arrested, people get killed and assassinated over this stuff. It's real. It really is happening. As a matter of fact, there'll be wars fought over this stuff. Cities will be bombed. All of these things are happening, but it's not because of a fear of a nuke. There really is a national security concern. I don't know how to best express it yet. I'm working on it, though. But it's not because of the bomb. And until then, everyone's wasting everyone's time. The Iran nuclear, it never made any sense. Oh, we're going to give Iran money so that they can still enrich, but, they're really nice with their uranium because we know they won't make a bomb. Oh. And let's think of another way of saying it. We're going to pay Iran for their enriched uranium. There you go. There's the Iran nuclear deal. So the enriched uranium goes here and not there. That's the whole story. That makes a lot of sense. Trump comes in, no more Iran nuclear deal. Now it's the axis of evil. We need to blow them up. But they still need to enrich their uranium. Where's it going to go now? Well, we don't know. We'll sort that out. They're fighting over the enriched uranium. They're fighting over a massive pile of energy that is one of the necessary things to power the AI, which is the most important thing in the world, according to them anyways. Makes sense. It all makes sense when you let go of the mythology of nuclear weapons. Matter of fact, a lot of parts about COVID-19 make all the sense in the world if you let go of the mythology of RNA pandemics. Let that go. And you're like, oh, all of these things everything just lines up. Makes all the sense. Can't get there. So they're just wasting everyone's time, getting everyone angry about all the wrong things, not allowing any productive conversations. These two guys. The next person, by the way, we don't need to play this whole thing here. The next person that is on the show is Tim Kaine. Now, Tim Kaine, of course, he's not happy with what Trump did. Tim Kaine, sort of like Ro Khanna, and I guess Tom Massie as well, are also going to be on the other side of the equation, okay? But it's funny that Tim Kaine winds up here because he's this nuclear arms control expert or something like that. I don't know. Remember, Tim Kaine was one of the first people in the United States of America who got COVID and survived. If you go to earlycovidsurvivors.com, amongst the list of the people who got COVID in the United States of America and survived in the first 3 months, matter of fact, you can just type it in. earlycovidsurvivors.com. Come on. We see that in order of survival, we got Andrew Huff. We have Kevin McCarran, one of the people who takes money to lie about why people die. Steve Pachenik, Ahmed Malik, another little guy in England. He's the first person in England that had COVID, by the way, according to him. He takes money to lie about why people die. Gwyneth Paltrow, Kendra Becker-Mustaine, that woman that was on the show with Dr. Brian Hooker, not talking about Brandy Vaughn that just died at the end of 2020. She takes money to lie about why people die. Robert Malone, Adam Gartner, Mr. COVID Candy, he's also on the list. Charles Rixey, he's also one of the first people in the United States of America to get COVID and live. All of the people that take money to lie about why people die somehow wound up on this list. It's almost as if they're pretending to have had COVID. Milo Yiannopoulos, Tom Hanks, Wilson, Ron Johnson, and let's see, Jane Ruby. That's right. She mentioned that in March 2020, she had the COVID. She lived, takes money to lie about why people die. Peter Pio, Ian Lipkin. Funny that Ian Lipkin is on here because Ian Lipkin is one of the main names that came to the defense of Judy Mikovitz. Just saying, after she was kicked out of the Whittemore Peterson Institute. Harvey Weinstein and Tim Kaine. That's right. Tim Kaine, I think, was the first senator that got COVID and lived. And now here he is talking, now suddenly he's interested in nukes. Almost like these things are related. And Chris Cuomo, of course. So this was Face the Nation this morning. Remember, just a week or two ago, Face the Nation had, who did they have? Oh my goodness. Look at this. This is the Impact Summit 2020. Who do we have on there? We have Ami Bera, the Indians representative from California that was, asking Anthony Fauci about pandemic potential in late 2019. We have the Indian-born Pramila Jayapal. She is in the district where the America's Patient Zero, Snohomish County man, was discovered in early 2020, January 2020. We have Ro Khanna, who is just on the air right now, hooking up with, of course, Thomas Massie. And then we have Raja Krishnamurthy. And Raja Krishnamurthy is an associate, to some extent, also of Piper Stover, at least according to congressional testimony. He's also just happens to be an Indian-born man who's in charge of the anti-Chinese Communist Party subcommittee of the United States government. A little bit of a conflict of interest, I might add. And the whole panel was run by Richard Verma, former ambassador to India. Oh, that's right. Richard Verma, chief strategist, working in the office for several years for Harry Reid. That's right. The same Harry Reid that his family has multiple relatives hired by the Whittemore family. The Whittemore family with thousands of siblings. Thousands. Because of Baby God. Because of Quincy Fortier. And no one has made that link. Because the pursuit of understanding the human genome is the national security priority. Empowering the data centers with enriched uranium is the top priority. It is the national security priority. It is a reason why nations will go to war with each other. It is a reason why people will get thrown off of parking garages, assassinated, poisoned to death. It is a reason why Judy Mikovitz would go to jail. This is the story. It is not nukes. The story is the Human Genome Project. And every day they are wasting more of your time and not allowing my country to get any justice about what happened during COVID because of these fantastic mythologies that they continue to push on people. So I encourage you tonight, tomorrow, whenever, I'm going to try to watch tonight. Watch Baby God. Watch Baby God. And every time you hear about Quincy Fortier, just keep thinking that one of his 5 daughters is the one that recruited Judy Mikovitz. just keep thinking that the case was sealed on August 24th, 2001, 2 weeks before 9/11. Almost as if 9/11 had something to do with the Human Genome Project and vaccines. It's incredible, guys. Let me say hi to you real quick. Dr. Jack Cruz recently cleaned the floor with Doc Malik. Good for, I wish it was somebody else, but at least it's somebody. He put Malik was regurgitating Sasha's BS. I don't know. I'm if it's a Cruz that I'm thinking about, I don't know what to make out of him. We'll cover Sasha in a little bit more detail soon. She's frustrating. I don't want to give her too much attention that she doesn't deserve, though. According to the elect, those days will shorten, says God. The earth ends after July 4th, 2025, which means no repentance anymore for anyone on earth. I don't remember hearing about that, Ancient. I know there's different interpretations on things. I don't tend to get much into numerology. I'm not, look, if someone doesn't believe in God and they believe in, the Big Bang and, the earth being 4 or 5 billion years old or whatever, eventually the earth is going to, the sun's going to get big, the earth will melt or blow up or something like that. It's not going to last forever. So, all of this is not, nothing here is permanent anyways. I don't know. My interpretation as a very juvenile Christian, I guess, is that, we should live as if the world could end any day. We should be ready. We should always live as if we will be judged in 2 minutes from now. And the more we can encourage our children and our families to live as if that is the case, well, then, believe it or not, we actually live a very good life. We live a very godly life. I think that's my interpretation of it. Again, I'm not going to push religion on anyone, but I tend not to get much into numerology. The Mormon prophecy about 85 years old and then I'll die. It's really 58 years old because Masons wrote it. Yeah. The topic of Mormons does come up in the movie Baby God, Church of Latter-day Saints. It does come up. I've heard. I haven't seen that part of it yet. It has been suggested that there were benefits seen, at least as far as data goes, from the Mormon community because of family size and, let's just say, family arrangements. I don't know. I haven't dug into that deeply, but I suspect that if people were looking for genetic causes of different diseases, having large families where you could actually control which genes changed and where, there could be cases where that could be incredibly valuable. Okay. If you want to view people as experimental test animals, washing the humanity out of them, then that could be something that could be valuable. It's interesting. The movie just doesn't make any suggestion, though. The movie does not make a suggestion that it's connected to Whitmore. And I knew about this 2 or 3 years ago. It just didn't click. I have someone to thank. If you're in the chat, you know who you are, who reminded me of this the other day. So I don't want to take credit for it. I already had a page on it, but it was just I put a couple pieces together and I'm like, oh, okay, now it makes sense. So another thing, this is, I'm just going to throw this out there. I was looking for C-SPAN videos on Harry Reid and the nuclear deal. Looking for C-SPAN videos on Harry Reid and the Iran or Indian nuclear deal. And I bumped into this hearing. This is an October 23rd, 2001 Senate hearing. It's called the Public Health Response to Anthrax Exposure. What's interesting about this hearing is that, of course, it's happening after 9/11, and it's happening after the anthrax letters have been sent and news stories are coming out that Some people in the mail services in the United States and a couple elected officials have received these letters. I wanted to note that these hearings were scheduled before 9/11. So the hearings about the anthrax letters, initial ones, were scheduled before there were anthrax letters. They weren't meant to be hearings about what to do now that we've had anthrax letters. They were meant to be hearings about what are we going to do if there's an anthrax attack. You see? And that is why these hearings were so well organized. They were already booked. People already bought their plane tickets. They didn't expect 9/11. They expected a large-scale biological terror attack at a major U.S. metropolitan center, probably in November of 2001. So that's why these hearings are so interesting. On the panel on October 23rd, 2001, we have Harry Reid. Harry Reid from Nevada, talking about, terrorists and anthrax letters. And you know who he's asking questions to? Thomas Monath, a man who was Robert Malone's boss at one point. Harry Reid, oh, that's right, Friends of the Whitmore family, is asking questions of Thomas Monath, a man who's been friends with Robert Malone since the 1990s easily and was the boss of Robert Malone at Newlink Corporation 2013 before Robert Malone, not connected with Judy Mikovitz, was hired to shuttle the Ebola vaccine to Merck Corporation. Also, interesting, on the same panel, I'm actually going to have to open it up because it's just that interesting. Harry Reid, there you go. See the old man talking there? That's Hillary Kaprowski. So Hillary Kaprowski, even Hillary Kaprowski had an anthrax vaccine. And here he is with Thomas Monath pitching it to Harry Reid. And something which was planned before 9/11 and the anthrax letters themselves. Hillary Kaprowski. It's almost as if it was never really about terrorism and nuclear weapons. It's always been about the Human Genome Project. It's behind everything. All right, guys, I got to move. Love you much. Love you much. Have a great night. Baby God, rent it, watch it. I would download it if I could, but I can't. But enjoy it. And we'll talk about it tomorrow. Love you much. Have a great night. God bless.